Here in Myanmar's northern Kachin State, just south of the confluence where the Irrawaddy River is formed by the joining of the Mica and the Malika rivers, Dr. Oliver Springate Baginski, a forestry lecturer from the UK's University of East Anglia, has teamed up with members of Myanmar's Friends of Wildlife and the Shalom Foundation to explore the relationship between the Kachin State's ongoing conflict, the conflict economy, and natural resource management. Their mission is to work with local villages within this conflict zone to understand what problems they are having with natural resource management, like water pollution, dams, land grabbing, livelihood generation, and others. Once the team has collected and analyzed the data, their hope is to then present this study to local government to try and influence their thinking and actions toward protecting the environment and bettering people's lives.
We're about a mile below the confluence of the two major tributaries of the Irrawaddy, and we're at the site which we believe to be the planned location of the MidSone Dam. We don't exactly know because the plans are not in the public domain, but we can see construction activities were happening here between about 2008 and 2011. There's a Chinese construction road over here. There's the villages have been located out of this area. So if a dam is built, to sort of a mega dam, it would be quite high across these gorge. So large areas upstream would be flooded. Now we're here in the rainy season where there's more precipitation washing soil through the river. So you can see the water is a sort of a greyish colour, which indicates a very high silt load. And if there's a dam, the silt will precipitate out here and the dam will gradually fill up faster or slower with silt, and therefore become less and less useful. We're not quite sure how long, but we could guess in decades before it's actually a useless construction. So you can see the landscape at the moment is used for a range of functions. We get transport of people going up and down the river. Michina is about 15 miles that way. There's lots of populations further up in the higher reaches. You can also see a mixed use of the landscape for shifting cultivation, sort of mosaic food production going on, local people's food security source. Biodiversity, there's lots of wild animals. You can see here the birds, some monkeys around. So it's a very precious landscape to local people. Many of those functions would become obstructed. Fish movement would become obstructed by a dam. So the relatively productive fishery here will become, we would expect, much less productive because fish are not able to move around to spawn.
About 15 kilometers downstream from the proposed site of the MidSone Dam is the village of On Myen Ta. People were moved here in about 2007, and today they are still not happy about being forced off their ancestral land, where many can trace their family tenure back hundreds of years.
In front of us we can see the relocation village from the MidSone Dam catchment area. Villagers were coercively relocated here. The site was built by the contractors for Chinese company. And you can see after only 5 or 6 years, the houses look pretty dilapidated. It's cheap quality construction. Villagers we've talked to say actually they informally, half the time, live in their old houses even though they're not legally supposed to. The biggest thing they've lost is their farmland. They're not allowed to cultivate back there in the catchment area, so they're having to cultivate up here on the slopes and progressively going higher and higher up the slopes to feed themselves. The slopes are fairly productive, but people need large areas to do hill farming, and they don't have large areas available. It also brings them into conflict with the forest department, who don't want people to clear forest and cultivate. So there's a bit of friction between the two. This is compounded by the fact that some urban people in Myitkyina, more powerful people, are able to clear forests for rubber plantations up in the hills, competing for land with the natural forest and also with the shifting cultivators.